You guys are going to love these chicken meatballs, and here's 3 reasons why. 1, they're baked, which means there's no splatter on the stove and cleanup is a breeze. 2, they're juicy and flavorful and can be combined with so many different sauces for a variety of tasty dinner ideas. And 3, they're meal prep friendly. Just pop any leftovers in the freezer and then easily reheat them in the future for a quick and easy dinner. Hopefully I have you convinced that you need to make this recipe, and if so, keep watching because this healthy chicken dinner recipe is endlessly versatile. All right, let's dive in. A lot of meatball recipes out there use soaked breadcrumbs, which is called a panade, to keep meatballs moist. But it's totally not needed if you add other ingredients like half of a small onion that's chopped up. Not only do chopped onions impart natural moistness as well as flavor to the meatballs, but they'll also prevent them from becoming too packed and dense. So while I often say that you can sub dried onion powder in recipes, for this one, I really do think you need the chopped onions if you want to keep the meatballs as juicy and moist as possible. And I like to finely dice the onion so that lots of little pieces get scattered throughout the mixture. I'll just scooch that to the side of my cutting board for now and then chop up some fresh parsley. Again, this is an ingredient that improves the texture of the meatballs because little pieces of parsley also help the meatballs from becoming too dense and tightly compacted. You'll need about a 1/4 cup of roughly chopped parsley, but I'll just chop up the whole bunch for now and then measure it out here in a second. And then the last ingredient to prep is some freshly grated Parmesan cheese. You can of course omit the cheese to make them dairy-free, but if you're fine with dairy, a 1/4 cup of finely grated Parmesan really does add to the flavor. All right, let's make these chicken meatballs. Add 1½ pounds of ground chicken to a mixing bowl, along with 1 egg, which is our binder, the chopped onion, parsley, Parmesan cheese, a 1/4 cup of almond flour, 3 minced garlic cloves, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, half a teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper, and half a teaspoon of dried oregano. Though if you don't have dried oregano, you can sub in another dried herb like basil, thyme, or even some Italian seasoning blend. Mix that all together with your hands until it's thoroughly combined, but like most meatball recipes, try not to overwork it. You don't want to compact the meat too much if you can help it. Line a baking sheet with parchment paper, and I always like to use pre-cut parchment sheets as they are such a convenience in the kitchen and they fit the pan perfectly. I'll link the ones I use below, and then grab a medium cookie scoop to scoop up a portion of the chicken meatball mixture. Lightly roll it between your hands until it's just formed and then place it on the baking sheet. Repeat this process until you've used up all of the mixture, and you should get about 30 meatballs out of this recipe. So on a sheet pan, I place them 5 across by 6 down. But if you end up with a few extras, you can always just squeeze them onto the baking sheet. Bake the chicken meatballs in a preheated 400-degree Fahrenheit oven for about 20 to 22 minutes until they're just barely lightly browned and cooked through. They don't get much color, and if you try to get them super golden, you'll likely overcook them. So go more by time and temperature rather than color for this recipe. That way they stay nice and juicy. If you want to use an instant read thermometer to double check, it should read 165 degrees Fahrenheit on the inside of a meatball. So while my chicken meatballs are cooking, I'm gonna whip up my chimichurri sauce recipe that's also on my website. You can think of chimichurri sauce as Argentina and other Latin American countries' version of pesto, but it's just a bit looser and chunkier in form. It really tastes amazing on grilled steak, cooked veggies, and I even have a potato salad recipe that also uses it. So long story short, it pretty much just enhances anything it's added to. The main ingredient is finely chopped parsley, so I'll chop up a bunch of parsley and measure out half a cup for today's recipe and save the rest for another recipe later this week. Then I'll finely chop up 1 small red chili pepper, which should give me about a tablespoon's worth finely chopped. I also like to remove the seeds so that the chimichurri isn't overly hot, and if you can't find a small red chili pepper, you could also use half a teaspoon of dried red pepper flakes as a substitute. Lastly, you'll need 3 garlic cloves, and while 99% of the time I use my garlic mincer to mince garlic into recipes, chimichurri sauce is all about having each of the ingredients uniform in size and texture. So for this recipe, it's more authentic if you hand chop all of the ingredients. And I'm just gonna set those aside for a second as it's now time to take the meatballs out of the oven. See, I told you this was a fast recipe. You'll notice that the meatballs do ooze a little, and that's totally normal. It's because we pack them with the fresh onion and parmesan, which helps to keep them extra moist. But when you go to pick them up from the sheet pan, any of that extra liquid just falls right off, and then you've got perfectly baked chicken meatballs. There's really an endless number of ways to serve these up. You can turn them into a full meal with a side of rice or cauliflower rice, and veggies like roasted broccoli, sauteed green beans, or baked sweet potato. And then you can also serve them up with a simple side salad like my cucumber salad if it's summertime, or my lentil salad if it's wintertime. Because I should also add that these chicken meatballs are a great year-round recipe. You can also serve them up as a savory and protein-packed appetizer or snack with a variety of sauces, including tzatziki, romesco sauce, marinara sauce, or the chimichurri sauce that I'm making today. And to finish whipping up that chimichurri sauce, add the parsley to a small mixing bowl with 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, the diced red chili pepper, the diced garlic, half a cup of a good quality extra virgin olive oil, 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, half a teaspoon of kosher salt, and about 1/4 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. Mix that together, and then I'm going to transfer a portion of it to a small serving bowl. And side note, this is the bowl that I bought from a local ceramicist in Provence, France this summer, if you were following along on that trip. You can drizzle the chimichurri sauce over the entire batch of chicken meatballs, or if you're serving these up at a party, it's always fun to serve them with toothpicks and then have several sauces for guests to choose from. I guess the point I'm trying to make with this recipe is that it's endlessly versatile, and it's really a choose-your-own adventure for how you want to enjoy these little bite-sized chicken meatballs. But I'm going to take my bite with this deliciously herby chimichurri sauce. I am so excited to dig into this because what you guys can't hear right now is my stomach growling behind the scenes. I am hungry. The meatballs themselves are naturally juicy. The punch of flavor from the chimichurri sauce, very, very good. But if chimichurri just isn't your thing, you can also serve these up with a marinara sauce, a pesto sauce, a romesco sauce, a tzatziki. I have all of those different sauce recipes on my website. And when you go to store them, I would recommend storing them plain so that when you thaw them and reheat them in the future, you can serve them up with different sauces every time, which keeps your meals interesting. These chicken meatballs will stay good for about 3 to 4 days in the fridge in an airtight container, or for up to 3 months in the freezer. When you want to enjoy them, just transfer them from the freezer to the fridge the night before so that they can thaw overnight, and then you are good to go. All right, I am going to finish off this plate of meatballs because I am indeed hungry. But if you loved today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with your family and friends who also love meatball recipes, and I will see you guys again in the next video.